This is going to be your guide for advanced tips and tricks in Kirby Air Riders, starting off with the secret Sky Islands. So it's not just the Sky Garden. Beyond that, you might see islands very far away in the sky. That's not some special cosmetic. You can actually fly out there. It's just difficult and takes a lot of stats, like over 10 glide, over 10 speed, and the right character. But if you make it out there and take the risk, you can get rewarded with all kinds of items, pretty much a buffed Sky Garden with stats. Now the thing is, to make it to a Sky Island, everything needs to go right. You need to be on the right character. It's going to be really difficult if you're D2D, and pretty much impossible if you're playing a character like Rocky. Also, you need the right combination of stats. If you get too much weight, then you're going to need more glide, and that gets kind of tricky. And you also need like at least 10 speed, at least 10 glide. You need the right machine as well, and you need to be on a good character, and the islands need to spawn in the first place. So what I did was I spent a couple of hours practicing a playstyle that targets the Sky Islands, and there's a lot of like weird little nuances where, okay, you can go Starman or Cappy for a character that has a lot of lift and good flight, but then that's going to make farming in the Crystal Cave harder, and you kind of don't want to go there because, oh, if you break it open, you get 2 weight, and then you break more open, you end up like walking out with 4 weight, 2 top speed, and a glide. You wasted a minute, and your stats are effectively negative while going for that. But I guess you can just kind of gamble where if that happens, okay, I'm just going Bulk Star Race Cappy and I'm going to ignore the Sky Island and win anyways. So a playstyle that's really adaptive on certain characters can be interesting. Meta Knight is also interesting because his sword chews up the crystal, so you farm that a lot faster, and then you can find like a Paper Star or a Wing Star and try to get out there, especially if you use your special. So there's a lot of tech to it. And it is something you can play for, but you also have to know to just like pivot off of that, and then now you're just kind of on a weaker character, and that could be kind of weird. The next tip is where things start to get sweaty. Like if you really want to win more games, or if you want to increase your chance of doing well in City Trial, you gotta scout whoever is joining your lobby. Like, oh, there's 2 Knuckle Joes, and then if you're riding around, you see a Knuckle Joe on a battle chariot go and one-shot someone, probably stay out of the derbies. Actually, definitely stay out of Dust Up Derby, Big Battle, or Kirby Melee, or anything like that, because certain characters are going to play for one thing. You see a Starman, you're going to have a tricky time on the gliding challenge unless you just end up with 15 glide or something. And while that does seem like basic strategy, the reason why I call it sweaty is because you have so little time to like analyze your entire lobby and then mentally figure out like the most optimal thing you should be targeting in that game, then actually apply it while things are just breaking down in the middle of a city trial because everything is so hectic. And also the game feels more fun and less competitive than specifically playing for the lobbies that you're in. But there's a ranked mode now, so given enough time, gamers will optimize the fun out of everything, and that's one way of doing it, taking opponent matchups that seriously. But then there's also simpler things to pay attention to. The game announces when someone completes a Hydra, or when they complete a Dragoon. So when you see the stadium selection, just completely avoid. Next up, we have boost pad tips. So you don't have to press A on a boost pad anymore like you did for Kirby Air Ride, which also had its own like weird stuff that more floaty machines didn't need to hit it, but if you're grounded, then it was optimal to do that. But if you had too much boost, you brake hard, so you lose the boost advantage. You don't need to worry about that anymore. Just turn off your thumbs for a drag race or a race, unless you're doing a gliding challenge, that you still want to press boost on those boost pads because it makes you go further, and I tested this. I just did nothing. And then I compared that to timing the first boost pad, and I went much further. But then don't even worry about hitting more than one boost pad. That like after the first one, you're just going by so fast that if you press boost at the wrong time, you're actually braking, and then you're going a lot shorter in distance. So really, if you have a high jump or an air glide, you just want to press A or B on that first boost pad, and then you get like a super boost. And then speaking of the gliding challenges, what's the best thing to do in them? For high jump, is there like some kind of technique where you want to go out a little bit and then angle up and just try to get as much flight time as possible, or do you just want to crank it back and go straight up? Turns out Occam's razor is kind of undefeated here because you just want to crank it back and then go straight up, and that's going to be the best way to get more height in the high jump. You would think like maybe there's a technique to it. Nope, you just go up. And here the Wing Star is better than the Paper Star, so if the stadium is announced it's a high jump, then everyone really needs to be going for the Wing Star. Now, what about air glide? Do you want to just go perfectly neutral? Do you want to like kind of make a parabolic shape, go up a little bit, go out a little bit, and then glide down? Or do you want to go straight up and out? Turns out going straight up and out is going to be the best way of even winning air glider. Now, because of the bonus stats from City Trial, there's no set amount of time you want to hold back and then go straight up for the air glide. That once you like kind of feel your vehicle slowing down and it just kind of feels right, that's when you let go and then you just go neutral. So you just like go super high up and then you float down. That's going to be the best way of winning air glide, and this is where the Paper Star is better than the Wing Star. So overall, I'm just saying like Paper Star beats Wing Star for all the gliding challenges. You can beat a Wing Star in high jump, and you definitely beat a Wing Star in air glide, so it just feels like the better play overall. Next up, we have Rocket Star optimization. So people have been defending the Rocket Star because I put it in D tier on my tier list. It just doesn't really feel like it works out too much. But if you are playing and you have a rail panic or a drag race that has a lot of boost, it can be competitive. So like completely neutral just in the stadium trials, actually Rocket Star just beats kind of everything with every combination as long as you're hitting all the boosts, because that's how the speed works. Now, the reason why I put the Rocket Star in D tier is because it pretty much always feels bad, that you can't use it at all at any point in City Trial. You pick it up even in the mid game when you got some stats, and it is worse than anything else you can do. So you need to manifest a Rocket Star in the last 30 seconds of the game, or else it's not worth it. You also need to have more stats than other things because you need that extra boost, so all of your turbos and all of your stuff is really good while having high top speed, while having weight, or else other characters are just going to naturally beat you straight up. Now, what this means is that the Rocket Star does have a super duper high stat breakpoint where it's just better than everything else. Very uncommon, not likely to happen, but if everything lines up, then yeah, you actually want to be on a Rocket Star instead of a Rex Wheelie, instead of a Swerve Star. I don't know if the Bulk Star has other weird max stat implications, so maybe I should have made a note of that in my tier list, is that it's not always D tier. Like, less than 5% of the time you have an opportunity to just be better on the Rocket Star. Also, the Rocket Star is good if you're playing Perfect and Technical in Air Ride. So here, we can see that if you just keep farming the proper boosts off of enemies, that's going to just keep your speed up super high, and that's really how you have to do it. So if you have really good control, and then you are just like keeping that boost maxed out as long as possible by farming enemies, then the Rocket Star kind of just becomes the best thing for general racing. But this is pretty precise, and I think it can also be inconsistent on skill. Like, even the best of speedrunners are going to be resetting a lot of times for that perfect run. So with the perfect run, with perfect play, and perfect stats, Rocket Star is kind of best, but very difficult to get there and maintain it. Also, with City Trial, things do just break down on the stats where, like, okay, good luck hitting all the enemies while going that fast and not actually accidentally, like, bricking yourself or something. And then also, good luck putting that time and practice into mastering the Rocket Star, but it can be fairly rewarding. I'll give it that. Next up, we have character unlock. So I'm not doing a dedicated character unlock video because it's a lot easier to just look up a guide that has everything in text instead of like scrubbing through a video or clicking on some kind of chapter or something. Really, the only secret behind it is that all you need to do is change the stats of the race. Really, the only thing you need to know is that you can change the rules, so you can actually just turn enemies off, and then that's how you get Waddle Doo. Or if you need to lap someone to unlock DeRoach, well then just add, like, you can also put handicaps on them. So you put handicaps on them, you add like an extra 2 laps to the race just to make sure you can lap them inside of it. And then you can unlock the characters through whatever requirement is in the guide. So I'll have that Reddit post linked down below. And while you're scrolling down there, don't forget to leave a like, hit the subscribe button, maybe leave a comment as to your favorite tips or if this was a useful guide, and then you can check out my other guides and get even better at the game. And then we can talk about a little bit of metagaming. So like I said with my earlier tip, pay attention to what people are getting. Like, if you see a Dragoon get finished, there is absolutely no reason to ever go into Air Glider. You deserve to get made fun of. However, this is the funny part, but for some reason, an opposing Dragoon ripped a win away from me in Beam Gauntlet when they could have chosen Air Glider. If not for them, I would have had no contest total victory. So you can also just kind of play to screw over other people that are expecting you to go elsewhere. Now you need to make sure you have a ton of speed stats. Also, a Dragoon might not go for the air glider if they were playing for some kind of race. Like D ends up on a Dragoon. Well, what if he has 3 glide, 15 weight, and 13 top speed? He's probably not feeling confident there. I don't know how that ends up playing out, but I don't think anyone should ever take the risk to find out. So then you can just take your Dragoon into a race and still do really well. But also, just because you have the Dragoon and it feels fast doesn't mean you can win races. Like, imagine getting humbled in the city trial. Now, it is a little unfair because we got Rip Roaring Rick, but that can still happen. And I have seen people posting on Twitter like, wow, I got the Dragoon and it's so crazy in this race. And then they got like a 19-second rail panic. That's beatable. That's very beatable. Or an 18-second drag race. Like, bro, Cappy on a bulk star can get 15 seconds. So the Dragoon metagame gets a bit more interesting, and then with something like the Hydra, that's just a coin flip. Are they going to go a dust-up derby, or do they want to just put like 5,000 damage on a verse boss? Who knows? It's just how much of a psychopath they are. My next tip is mostly about something you want to avoid, and that's completely autopiloting the game. You still have to like have the game comprehension to put pieces together. So if the vehicles gather in the underground in the parking lot, and then there's a destroy vehicles for stats thing, well, put 2 and 2 together, and then you got some super duper farming, especially if you get like certain items and some certain stuff. So you need to have the awareness for the adaptability, like, wait a second, I ignored all the things in the garage, but now it says machines can be destroyed. And I guess it might tip you off, like, if you're playing, and then you just see a ton of icons underground in that area. Or maybe comment down below, you didn't even know this was possible, and it's like, oh, that's really cool. I hope that happens one time ever in my games, and then I get a million stats. So just kind of the awareness of this game is insane. More things to have, oh, this game is insane awareness about, is that just because you miss something in the target panic doesn't mean you don't get a second chance. I actually tried to pull this off in one of my games. I just wasn't skilled enough to do it. But yeah, like, oh, you missed the 100? Lap back around and try it again. You probably picked this one up really early, but when you get the Mega Cannon, you don't want to do it exactly where you are. You want to drive around with it for a little bit, and then you can brake and unleash it near the edge of the map, and then you just kind of wiper through everything. Yes, it does go through buildings. I thought that if it penetrates everything, it's stronger to shoot from the edge. I gave it a try, and yeah, it penetrates everything. Also, it gives you a wider field of view, so you want to try to reposition and get to the edge as fast as possible when you pick up the cannon, and then you just rinse people. And then this clip is kind of showing that going for the Sky Island, not always the best idea. So even with Susie, I think Susie's passive is a joke, that like the little boost you get from the propeller doesn't really do anything. And here they actually showed proper technique, that what you want to do is get height and then glide out for it, but they just didn't have enough, or they didn't go straight up enough initially to kind of fly out for it. Maybe with the Susie jump, and then they missed. So imagine doing that at the very end of the game. Oof. So yeah, that's why you gotta practice the Sky Island, and at the end of the day, nobody's perfect. There you go. Hope you guys enjoyed the tips and tricks and they helped you out. Hope you have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.